And we are live. Welcome to a brand new episode of Qué Pasó podcast. My name is Eduardo.
Ernest, are you there?
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm here.
uh,
Yeah.
okay.
well, well,
Uh,
sorry for that.
where,
but
where are we? My name is Eduardo.
I'm
Uh,
Ernest.
I'm Al. How you doing, guys? And today the Russians are coming, or are they?
Yeah,
Um,
you never know.
Yeah, you kind of do because they're kind of like at a gas near Kharkiv somewhere,
Yeah.
so you know exactly
They,
where
they,
they are.
they asked for that was the last thing we saw about the war here in Qué Pasó podcast. They stopped to ask for gas in a police station.
Geniuses. Just
Oi, Piotr,
absolute
you have
geniuses.
some. Piotr, you have some gas for my T-34 here.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, guys. It's been a while since we've hosted the show. You know, we've all been busy being busy people, I guess. And you know who's also been busy screwing up is the Russians.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, we left it. We made an episode at the start of the war, and we were saying that uh, Ukraine had something. Uh, we thought that the Russians could end up in Kiev in 96 hours as the original. Uh, the Americans and the Americans were thinking things were going to happen. But 2 years later, here we are. The Russians are bogged down, and they are burning through their stock of tanks and artillery and their Black Sea fleet.
Oh man, they've really been burning through that one.
Yeah, apparently 20% of the tonnage of the fleet is gone.
So
And not
just
into the oligarchs' pockets either.
Yeah. The Moskva has been the Moskva was uh, promoted, transferred to the submarine fleet, and yesterday yesterday the Ivanovets, rocket launcher corvette, was also transferred to the um, submarine fleet.
mm.
It's very interesting to see how things are going. Um, the thing is like all the fear mongering here too has been very interesting, and I'm not sure why there is so much of it because it's the wrong time to do so. To kind of fearmonger because you know I'm hearing on the news now, you know, the great Russian threat, and I'm like, they haven't even captured like anything. They've got a bit of land, yes, but I mean they haven't really gained anything. It's not like they're beating on the door of Poland
Hmm.
screaming, "Can we come in?" You
It's not
know,
like
like
they.
the
It's not like they have Kiev. It's not like they have Kiev on the other side of the Ukraine. Is that no? They have. They basically have everything they had before the start of the war. The Donbass and Crimea, and a little bit of land connecting it.
Yeah, I mean they have lost half the land they captured since 2022,
Yeah.
and I
So
mean
why people are painting them as if they're the Soviet Union?
I don't know. It's I mean this is a even in Soviet times, the Russians, I mean, by the 80s, any military advantage was evaporating. I mean, people still think about this rivalry between the AK-47 and the M16. Yes, the AK-47 was the superior assault rifle back then, but I mean, uh, where what happened with what is happening with Russian armament right now? Uh, we we have talked about some pieces of equipment, of Russian equipment, and other nations here in past episodes. And if I recall correctly, uh, we were talking about the AK-12.
Mhm.
Ernest made a couple of comments about the AK-12, the latest iteration of the Kalashnikov assault rifle, and
Mhm.
I mean, apparently the Russian troops are prefer the AK-74 to the AK-12 because the rails for all the attachments they can they can put on the rifle get in the way of the functioning of the weapon.
But isn't that also like the Russian bureaucracy or the Russian government? I mean, they kind of get in the way of the weapon as well because
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
they're. I mean, like everything they have sucks. I mean, the
Even
only
the
thing I have to
rations.
admit, I
Have you
well,
have you heard
yeah,
of the
that's
rations?
probably
Like I heard sorry to interrupt you, but I heard I think it was like an article I saw the other day that a general was actually being investigated on the charges of corruption because one of the main food items of Russian military rations is cans of cans of beef. And what happened was they found out that one of the generals was pocketing money because he was swapping the beef cans for dog food.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I remember that one.
yeah. So I mean, like if this kind of thing is the case, I'm not really scared of Johnny Russian. You know, I'm probably the least. I'm more scared of Venezuela than I am of Russia, and I can beat Venezuela by like throwing a stake at them. You know that's by the way, guys. Like for all of our listeners, that's how you can win the war in Essequibo. When it happens, you just take a bunch of stakes and you throw them into the mass of Venezuelan soldiers, and they'll fight each other for the stake. If you attach a
Operation
hand
Bife
grenade to the
Chorizo.
stake, well, I mean, but if you attach a hand grenade to it, you can ambush them all at once, and everything will be over. Because like they'll know there's a hand grenade, but they won't care because they want to eat. Oh wow, they even throw him in jail.
Yeah, I mean, he was a whistleblower, and he said, "Okay, you are the you swap the beef." I mean, it's a little old. It was on 12 years ago in
Mhm.
2011. Uh,
Okay.
so, but still, this happens in European or the American army, the Canadian army, and I mean, people go is going to jail for this in
Oh
the
God,
civilized
yes.
world.
Yeah, it's a worldwide scandal in a like a professional army.
Hmm.
Like I'm mostly can comment on the kind of fright that the West is still getting, more than kind of because I haven't really been paying attention to the whole Ukraine thing. To be honest, there's other issues closer to home that merit my attention. Because I think this war is it's not over yet. I know, but I don't really worry so much about it because the Russians have used up all their good stuff, all their good troops. But now, like I've been seeing on the news, they're like, oh well, the Russians are increasing their defense spending to 7.4% of their GDP, or by 7.4% of their GDP, or something like that. We have to be prepared. I'm like, um, just because you spend more money doesn't get rid of the underlying problems. The Russian army is horrifyingly corrupt. The Russian government is horrifyingly corrupt and inept.
Hmm.
Um, you had decent soldiers in the VDV and the Russian naval infantry. They're all dead because your generals are idiots and they threw their lives away trying to capture like Kharkiv, Kiev, and Mariupol and all these other places that just ground them up into pieces. Yes, you've killed a bunch of Ukrainians, but you didn't take your objectives. You have failed. You're running out of tanks because the T90 is not in such a massive amount of supply. Um, oh, oh my God! Like I like that's the articles. Like that literally is like a Russian invasion is no longer unthinkable. I'm like, Yes, it
Okay.
is. It's
Mm,
literally unthinkable.
well,
It's more right now than it was before. It's more right now than it was like 5 years ago.
I was reading through these articles, and I mean, what they say is that the Russians, the plan they would have to move into Europe. It's like they will just it's the same thing they are doing in the front lines to this active defense they
Mhm.
are doing against Ukraine, to keep busy the whole front line. They I mean they are not aiming to to take a lot of land or something like that. Their aims are to keep destabilized the West and Europe at large. The Europe and the West at large. I mean, they
Destabilize us, dude. Like that's not going to happen. Like the thing is, like, like we're only like this is all like a show in a way. Like we're not scared of of the Russians. I mean, like the government is scared, but like for the most part, people here just don't really give two shits. And the thing is like there's no need to ramp up military spending because the Russians have like how many which wave of mobilization are they on now? Like the 90th or something like that? Like there's absolutely little to no threat to
Mm.
to the West. And I mean like this is fear mongering in order to increase military spending in order it's kind of like a crappy attempt to boost the economy through war. Like because we need fear in order to kind of promote the army again. Because if you look at like recruitment numbers for most of the mainstream Western armies, Canadian Army especially, um, we're not meeting our recruitment goals. We're not like Chile where we can just tell you, hey there, Bucko, here's a gun, show up next week. Um,
I mean, if you ask me, I do think that I mean something can happen, and Europe should rearm itself. And I mean the West,
Europe should have rearmed years ago.
no, the West should rearm because I mean right now Russia is the one on war footing, but I mean North Korea is it seems to be preparing for something, and China. I mean the most the worst case scenario is that China will be invading Taiwan even next year in 2025, between 2025 and 2029. So I mean, this is
I'm
I
not.
the world is a more dangerous place. I think this the United States and their allies should be preparing for war because we are
I
seeing.
mean,
I think World War III is right around the corner. Now
okay, yes, there. Hmm?
go ahead,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay, so I guess what I could say is like, okay, I can see the issue with China. That's why Taiwan has increased its conscription service length from 6 months to a year. But the thing is that I am not overly concerned about China either because they might on paper China looks really really good, but you see the Chinese lack something critical in order to pull off successful military operations. Experience. Their generals, their officers, their doctrine. It might look good. They might have some great training, maybe, but the problem is that China hasn't fought a war in decades. Since and the last one they did was a minor skirmish with Vietnam. So I mean, all the soldiers, all the like the general officers who are involved in those conflicts, they're either retired, close to retirement, or dead. So that's one thing. The other thing is you have the Indian Army stationed on the frontiers with Tibet. The Indians are not fans of China right now. You have the Quad, of course, which is also another thing. You have Japan rearming, which terrifies the living crap out of the Chinese. They're scared of Japan rearming, but Japan is
Hmm.
doing it, and no one is saying boo about it. We're not talking about Japanese rearmament, which I think is actually essential to the security of the region. We have to stop relying on the United States to kind of police everything. Let's
Let's
give the authority. Mhm.
go ahead. But I wanted to comment on something. But go ahead. I'll speak when you
Let's
finish.
let's give the ability. Let's allow the Japanese to kind of control that region in terms of the military. I know that sounds controversial, but as the grandson of a World War II British Navy veteran, I can say that I'm actually fine with the Japanese being back on the blue on the ocean blue.
あれは感情わが敵は変人
Yeah, but
so
I mean, like, yeah. Go ahead, Pablo.
so the thing, both of you guys are commenting. I think both of you have valid points. The first thing I want to say with Eduardo is that I think, on principle, because considering the Russian invasion of the Ukraine, I think it's on principle fair if Europe and the United States rearm itself, especially considering the times we're living right now. Now, my problem mainly is that you don't need to look far for the actual state of the Russian army. So the way I see it is that this fear mongering of Russian invasion is mostly done by the Eurocrats who want to keep the European Union in check. Because one thing that I said, and this is something we said, and I think it was in the first episode of the war, is that the Russian invasion of the Ukraine just bought the European Union basically 10 years of life. Because if there was no invasion, I don't think there will be more like, how do you say, unity in the European continent. But now there's an existential crisis. Putin, the Russians, the Wagner Group, and their mercenaries. And and in regards with China and Japan, the thing with Japan is, I do agree that the world should rely less on the United States because how many years has it been since Afghanistan, since the pullover from Afghanistan? It was like last year. That was
Mm,
like last year, wasn't
3 years.
3 years? What? Wow, that yeah. For me, it feel like happened yesterday. But the United States basically just pull over all out the Middle East with the tail between its legs, and now we're living the consequences of it. In Iraq, there was ISIS. There's a Syrian civil war. Now it's that situation is kind of another thing. It's more like a stalemate, and the Taliban went back to power in Afghanistan. The way I see it is that certain regions of the world shouldn't be the interest of the West because they're never going to change. I don't think you just because you go to Iraq again, get rid of the warlords and then say, okay, we now declare a new Republic of Iraq. It's not going to stay that way for less than a year. So I do agree that there should be more control from powers from the region, or give more power to certain countries of the region. For example, in Asia, I think we should be propping up the Vietnamese, the Malaysians, the Thai, the Filipinos, because all of them don't like China. Every single country that is a neighbor with China has some kind of territorial dispute. One in particular, the one in the South China Sea. I believe
Yes,
that it's going to be a war. That it's going to be a war in Asia. Is going to be there in the South China Sea.
yes. But let me ask you this:
Hmm.
uh, if you want to stop relying on the United States, who has the capabilities to actually um, be the ones policing certain regions of the world?
Mm.
I don't see India um, picking up that globe for to become the regional power in South Asia. I don't see Japan and Korea rearming fast enough, and bolstering their numbers because their fertility rates are way down. Uh, I don't see also Vietnam opposing a major obstacle to China, because I mean, maybe only Korea has the Koreans have the military experience on their side, and military experience is something that can be achieved in during during the war itself. I mean,
Hmm.
the Americans uh, didn't have the last war before the World War I for the Americans was the Civil War, and it was I mean their participation there was one of the big one of the big advantages for the Allies at the end in the in the Meuse-Argonne offensive, and and covering and gapping the hole in Belleau for the French. I mean,
Hmm.
Hmm.
I the Americans are the ones with the military power to police the world right now, and the moment
Uh,
that they are gone, we are gonna miss them.
to add something to that, Eduardo, is I agree on that point because that's something I actually comment to a lot of people because uh, because I'm we're because well we are South Americans, so we're used to listen to people, especially the ones who think that they have like a little bit to talk about foreign politics. They always say, "Oh, I hate the United States. I hope the United States it's dead or something," or that they hate the U.S. Here's the thing: like it or not, the U.S. will continue to be a major power in global affairs for decades to come. I think it's only a matter of time, considering their leaders. But even in the state that they're right now, they're actually still the biggest power in the world. They're still one of the largest militaries, holding a lot of control over the rest of the world. So I do agree with that point, Eduardo. The only thing I agree is that in world history, whenever there's a large empire that collapses, there is always a time of open warfare between successor states or people who just want to take grabs of territory. This happened with the Empire of Alexander, happened with the Romans, happened with the Mongols, and it will happen with the Americans. Some people say that it's already happening right now. I think yes, if you consider what's going on in the Middle East, but it depends to be seen because I will address that after the war in Israel has finished.
I mean, I don't think the Pax Americana has been totally breached, because most of the Middle East isn't. I mean, all the places where the which they are allies with, Israel and Israel, Jordan, the Arab Peninsula countries are are enjoying still some peace. I mean, it's shaky the situation right now there, but I mean, the war is in Palestine and
Mhm.
Iraq. I mean, and the Americans are retreating from Iraq right now. But
Well, yes, but I mean, like now, kind of going back to what you said about India. You don't think they could be the regional power, and I completely disagree because you see, they have to be the regional power because they are the largest. There is some issues with birth rates, but that's not as that can be fixed. And the other thing is that the biggest problem with India, I think, is the fact that their indigenous designs are generally not the best. Now, in terms of their naval indigenous designs, I think they're getting good at them. They're already working on ballistic submarines. They've got a few aircraft carriers. They learn quickly. They have failed on the INS rifle, which was a piece of junk and still is. The Arjun tank is a bit of a meme by now. But I mean, I give them points for trying. It's better than just Pakistan, where they're like, "Hey, let's just buy more Chinese junk." Like
yeah,
we're just getting AliExpress tanks now. And but the other thing with the Indian army is that they have combat experience, and it's relatively recent. I mean, the last conflict they've had besides that stick fight in Ladakh was the Kargil War back in '99. So I believe, and a lot of the officers that fought in Cargill are, they're starting to age now, because I mean a lot of those guys were like in their 20s at the time. Now they're in their 40s and 50s, maybe 60s. But I mean, they're still within the Indian Army. They're still within that officer stream, and they're still imparting that knowledge. The corruption is also a bit of an issue, yes, but that is being worked on as well. But for the most part, the Indian Army is very well equipped. It's very well trained. It is experienced, and the thing is that they're the only power in the region that can take China head on population wise. The United States can't do it. The Japanese definitely can't do it. The Koreans will not do it. And the kind of Southeast Asian states, Myanmar, which is pretty much just like under China's thumb, or Vietnam, Laos, all these other places, they're not going to get involved. The only thing I'm more concerned about is Nepal, because Nepal is kind of the gateway into India. And since the fall of the Nepali monarchy and the replacement of it by this kind of communist or this Maoist oriented government, um, that is a bit of a concern to me, especially because India has a large contingent of Nepali soldiers. They have Gurkhas, which is a
Mm.
throwback from which they inherited, I should say, not a throwback, but it's an inherited from the British after the independence in '47. So you have this massive amount of trained Nepali soldiers in your army distributed throughout your country. If there's a war, and I know this is kind of off topic, guys, and I'm sorry, but I do keep an eye on Indian military affairs. The
Hmm.
thing is, if there's a war with China and Nepal gets involved, you then have to intern about 40 to 50,000 soldiers, um, who are generally regarded as your special forces, because that's what the Gurkhas are. They're damn good soldiers. The British use them as kind of an informal special operations force as well. So you have to spend resources putting these guys in internment camps, because you can't trust them. These guys are not going to be fighting their own country. They're not going to be fighting their friends, neighbors, and cousins. It's not going to happen. Um, and the other thing the only other thing I would say why India would not be a regional power is because of this Hinduva mindset that is kind of defining the Modi government. Um, he's causing a lot of rifts between the different religious groups and the castes. So I mean, you have issues with the untouchables of the Dalits. You have issues with the Muslims now, especially with the inauguration of the Ram Mandir Mosque, the Ram Mandir Temple, um, amongst other things. And also, guys, we should do a video or an episode on this sooner or later. The Indian government has taken things out of the Constitution lately. Um, Only one of the two things I support them taking out of the Constitution. One was the word secular, and the other was the word socialist. Um, so you
It's
can
interesting that
imagine,
secular.
yeah,
Interesting on the secular bit.
it's not a secular state anymore. Um, so yeah, that's a fun thing that's happened. I'm actually glad to get rid of socialists, because why the hell not? Let's just get rid of that nonsense.
Yeah.
But still, anyway, back to the Ruskies.
Yeah, I want to mention something about the Indian army and the Russian army. Russia included India in the Su-57 project, but
Oh,
in
the femboy or something, whatever it's called, or the
Felon,
checkmate, or
the Felon,
they call it the felon. Yeah. I think
code name Felon,
did you hear
yeah,
what Laserbeak calls it? He calls it the femboy.
the femboy. Yeah, but I mean,
Because like a femboy,
yeah, well,
it's flashy, it's loud, and attention seeking.
yeah, but India pulled out from the project. So now it's I mean the latest
Yeah,
generation air plane for the Russian for the Russian Air Force is, I mean, the project is dead in the water. And
Yeah,
Wow.
it is.
also we have heard that, oh no, it's better, it's faster and better than the F-35 and the F-22 and the J-20 from the Chinese. But
Everything's better than the J20.
I mean,
Hmm.
huh?
Everything's better than the J20. It's just like stolen parts. That's all it is.
Yes, but I don't think this. I mean, there's just a dozen of Su-27 in right now in the Russian Air Force, and they haven't been used in Ukraine.
Yeah,
Imagine
because they're gonna get shot down in 5 minutes.
what will happen if, uh, I mean a Tupolev, it was a Tupolev, I don't remember now, this the aircraft radar mobile radar aircraft
Oh,
of the
the
Russian
AWAC.
army.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, was shot down over the Sea of Azov recently. I mean,
Yeah, but you see, like the thing is, you gotta here's why they haven't been sending like the felon, which I mean is a really good name because it describes the majority of the Russian government and half the oligarchs. They are pretty much just old ex felons. Um, thanks to the good old Russian prison system. But no, the thing is that they can't afford to have these things blown up or shot down because it looks bad. And Russia's all about image. You have
yes,
this Russia strong meme bullshit. And that's why you have, like, for example, how many T-14 Armatas have we seen out in the battlefield? None.
zero.
They're not sending the Armata out. And they're not going to send out the other kind of derivatives of it. They're not going to send the felon. They're not going to send the SU-75 checkmate, which actually the checkmate is the one called the femboy. I'm sorry, not the felon. Um, but um, but the thing is, and by the way, shout out to Laser Pig. I love that. I love that Scotsman. He's just funny as hell. And he's actually very knowledgeable about these things. So I do thoroughly enjoy his videos and his humor. But the thing is that these um, these equipment cannot be allowed to be either captured or shot down or destroyed because if they go through it, they're going to find all of the things. And the thing is, if the T-14 Armata, for example, which was showing off, oh, look how good it was in Syria, it was kicking ass, but you never really seen two, you only saw like one or two of them. But the thing is, if they capture this thing and they look through it, they're going to see that it's not that good. The auto loader is really unreliable. It explodes quite a bit. Um, the engine is based on a German World War II design for the Porsche Tiger, the really unreliable one. This is not a joke. It is literally what it is based off of. So it's horribly underpowered, and it moves fast. It moves slower than the Challenger 2, which the British Army has, despite the fact that the Challenger 2 is 20 tons heavier than the Armata.
I mean, the Challenger is a beast. I mean, I was commenting with you guys the other day about the about this Challenger from the Battle of 73 Easting
Mhm.
in the Gulf War, in the 90s. I mean, that thing, a single Challenger sustained 4 RPGs and one anti-tank missile, and it was towed away from the battlefield, but 6 hours later it was back again in action. And apparently
Yeah,
this same tank sustained 70 hits of RPG in total. I mean, the Challenger is a beast
great
uh,
tank. It is. It is a
armor
damn good tank.
wise. Yeah, I mean, the Challenger is a really good tank. The German one, is the
A
Tiger.
Leopard 2?
The Leopard 2 is
Mhm.
the Tiger. No, Tiger, no, the Tiger was
No, no, no. That's not wrong. That's another Germany.
Gronkat. Leopard, was it
Yeah, the leopard. Yeah.
the Leopard 2 is also good. And I mean, the absolute unit that the M1 Abrams that is
Oh,
so
the
heavy
Abrams
that
is the best.
it is so heavy that it can't go through bridges.
I know, but the
But
thing with the Abrams is that also it's very quiet. Um, they actually call it the Whispering Death. Um,
yes.
because but the thing here's the other thing why I'm not really like peeing my pants about Russia is because they've gone through so many of their conscripts now because of this mobilization. The quality is no longer there, and they don't really have the Wagner Group anymore since Prigozhin blew up accidentally. Of course, we have to say accidentally because he was definitely not assassinated by any Russian authorities. It was a completely innocent plane explosion in the middle of Russia,
Yeah.
and not as a result of a rocket. But the other thing is that they don't have the Wagner Group to kind of deflect from or kind of take the beating before the Russian army moves in. So there's that, and their doctrine hasn't really been adapting. The Russians are starting to use like these little like Iranian drones, like the Shahed drones and all of that. But the thing is, that's still not enough to really make an impact. Russia lost its momentum within the first month, and yes, they made some gains, but the gains are not there really. Like they're not ones that would make me say like, hey, well maybe Canada needs to put a few more machine guns on our ships. Maybe if another Bofors cannon, but no, there's nothing really to worry about. But um, I'm seeing this one dude, and he's this British Army colonel, and he's like, "Hey, well, chaps, we need conscription. We need a citizen army. We need to get everyone out again, like it's 1945. National service needs to come back, and all this nonsense." And I'm like, it's not that bad. Just recruit more Nepalis. You'll be fine.
I mean, I think I mean, Europe is getting finally is accepting they have to increase their military budgets. I mean, at least to the 2% that the NATO tells demands of their members. Uh,
True.
I mean, but you see what Poland is doing. They are rearming, and they if the rest of Europe doesn't do anything, the real defenders of Europe, the most powerful army in Europe, will be the the Polish. And I mean,
Polish are the best army in Europe, or at least in like
no,
in that near that state. Those guys are going to be good, man. Trust me. In the next
yeah,
10 years,
yeah,
Mhm.
I know. I mean, they are buying American aircraft, tanks, artillery, and rocket trucks like the HIMARS that have been a massive beast in Ukraine, and also they are buying Korean hardware too. The
yeah, they've
K,
got the
the
Korean
K2.
tanks.
Yeah, I mean,
Mm.
Yep.
apparently the K2 is a really Germany is pissed because they are not buying the Leopard. The K2 apparently is more affordable, and is and it's a really really good piece of hardware.
And they're also allowing the tech transfers too. The Koreans are actually doing this. They're letting them build a factory
Yeah,
there where they can start.
they are including that in the Koreans are including that in their contracts. You buy tanks from us, you get to build them.
Yeah, and the other thing I found really is also I'm really not surprised that the Poles are not going to let the German buy anything from Germany because I mean, what Pole wants German tanks in Poland? I
Mhm.
certainly wouldn't. Um,
Yeah, and I
like
wouldn't
it's
buy things from the guys who never understood that. Germany, you should stop buying Russian gas, and they
well, I
never
mean, it's
did.
also that is the last time German tanks went into Poland. My grandfather spent 5 years on a British battleship, so no thanks, guys. I think I'll go with the Koreans.
Yeah, and
Um, mhm.
oh yeah, I mean, I and also, I mean, the now with the accession of, yeah, I mean, the with the accession to NATO of Sweden and Finland. I mean, let's take this into account. These were two countries that were forced into how you say it, into neutrality by Russia.
Mhm.
Sweden in the Sweden in the 19th century, and Finland in the 20th century. What made them jump the gun and, say, we need to join a defensive bloc against the against crazy Ivan. I mean, I think that, I mean, I think some the in the intelligence circles, they are talking about things that we don't know, and if we would know them, panic will spread, honestly. And I mean, because we haven't told yet about nuclear arsenals, which is a lesser preoccupation with Russia. And but okay, let's wait to get there, to the nuclear weapons.
Mm.
Y- fair enough. I mean, the nuclear weapons thing is something that it has to be discussed and reviewed as well.
Hmm.
But the thing is, I don't even think even the Russians aren't stupid enough to use nukes.
Yeah.
Like Putin is not that much of an idiot. He knows what's good. He knows as soon as one of those things fly to the silo, there's going to be about a dozen more from every direction coming and hitting him.
Yep.
Exactly.
Um, so I'm not scared. Like I said earlier, guys. And I'll keep reiterating this. I'm not scared of the Russians. I'm scared of the. I'm not. I'm only, I guess, vaguely scared of the Chinese, because I really don't see them as a real threat. Their army is big and it looks impressive. You know, you watch the Chinese military parades and you're like, wow, they know how to march and salute. It's amazing. But you know who also marches really pretty and probably isn't that good? The Chileans. So, like, and besides, the Chileans have better uniforms. I have to admit that.
I mean,
Um,
they have
eh, y-
The Prussian uniforms still.
We still keep
yeah,
them.
which is yep, yep. But I mean, like, but the thing is, guys, is that I'm not worried about China either because, like, the thing is, China is probably easier to beat than the Russians because they rely so much on manufacturing. We
Yeah.
just have to cut them off and we'll starve them out. And I
Yes.
mean, and this is why I said India is, and I've said this before actually, India is crucial to literally everything, is crucial to the plan to counteract the Chinese because India can do the cheap manufacturing. It can do, and the countries around India can do it. Bangladesh, for example, can produce clothing 10 times cheaper than the Chinese can. If we can manage to shake Myanmar out of this shit show that it's in, they could be used beside for something other than telemarketing scams. Um, which, by the way, they are, and guess who's backing that is groups from China.
Yes.
Um, which is very concerning. Um, but that's the thing. Like India is central. The Indians need to revamp they call it the good neighbor policy, and they need to revamp that. They so far they're only being successful with the good neighbor policy, I believe, with the Kingdom of Bhutan, and that's because Bhutan and India have a very close relationship. I mean, it's one of the few places that has a Bhutanese embassy. I have seen it when I went to Delhi. It's quite lovely, actually. I would actually like to go inside it. It's like a little bit of Bhutan in the middle of India. But anyway, I digress. India is critical, and we should probably do an episode kind of discussing the Indian position geopolitically because
Yes.
it is a very good conversation. And as a Canadian, I'm uniquely qualified to talk about relationships with India because they don't like us right now.
I wonder why. Isn't because you're receiving a lot of those funky dudes with the turbans and big beards?
God, yeah, it is. And the like here's a sad thing, guys. Like this is kind of a lighthearted thing. I know when someone is from the Punjab, not because of any like religious articles. I know it because they will literally have a stenciled drawing of their state on their Honda Civic or their BMW, or they will have an AK-47 decal, like something out of Narcos, and they'll be blasting Sidhu Moosewala. Now, mind you, I do enjoy a bit of Sidhu Moosewala every now and then, but every day, 6 hours a day in your BMW that you probably can't afford, um, no. But yeah, the also we don't really have to worry about too many Indian students or too many people from the Punjab, I should say, coming because Canada has done some stuff with student visas lately that have kind of made that a bit more difficult, which is also another interesting conversation to have. And it is one that I am talking about on my other podcast, In the Trenches, which I do actually have to make an announcement on that if you guys will allow me really quickly.
Sure.
Hmm.
In the Trenches is actually coming back, and it has Lenny, who is a friend of the show. He will be co hosting with me on that. We will be discussing Newfoundland and some federal Canadian issues. And I'm just doing a group of interviews now with international students here in Newfoundland
Nice.
about their experiences here. Um, it's quite eye opening, actually, very surprising. And I will stop talking about myself now. We'll talk about the rest of this interesting episode.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, yes, maybe Canada doesn't have to. Is not risking, uh, a major. Is not risking a lot from Russia or the United States, but I mean, you know how they use subterfuge to destabilize countries. I mean, I don't know if you have been paying attention to what is going in Spain with the Catalonians. Uh, they have support from the Kremlin in their attempts in 2017. I mean,
Oh,
even they apparently
I was
Puigdemont,
shocked.
yeah, Puigdemont was promised 10,000 troops to keep Catalonia independent.
I call BS on that one. The Russians were definitely not going to have
uh,
a
Yeah,
military intervention in Catalonia.
and if
exactly.
it and
I mean,
if it is, it's
they
gonna be like 10,000 neo Nazis.
they
Have you
they
seen that a lot of Russian Russian militias that operate worldwide? I was checking one in the Central African Republic, is the Wagner Group, and there's like a bunch of really weird neo-Nazi white supremacist Russian organizations.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to denazify Ukraine, they should have started at home. I mean,
Hmm.
their far right parties are way more relevant in Russia. Russian far right parties are way more relevant than whatever far right party is in Ukraine.
Well, they
Hmm.
did denazify. They did do a bit of denazification actually because they pretty much wiped out the Wagner Group. When they shot down Prigozhin, or I should say when Prigozhin accidentally crashed,
Yeah,
that was a couple of Nazis gone there.
Because
yeah.
absolutely nothing happened that day. His
The guy,
plane just crashed.
that guy Dmitry Otkin, the commander, the field commander of Wagner Group, was there, and I mean that man was covered in Nazi tattoos.
He
Mm.
literally had SS tabs on his collarbones. He
Yes,
literally he was literally a freaking Nazi. Like he was literally a neo-Nazi, and they're like, we're gonna use Nazis to denazify Ukraine when it's run by a Jewish dude. I'm like,
yeah.
Hmm.
wow. And they're like Azov Legion. I was like, oh, you mean like the one group of people who are kind of weird and kind of far right? The rest of the people are not.
Like the one Nazi army unit that they have in their entire military. Like,
And they're wiped
yeah,
out too. They're all gone too. They were destroyed
yeah,
at Mariupol.
Mm,
I mean, and apparently, when they were integrated in the armed force and in the National Guard, armed forces at large, apparently they had to, tone down whatever political leanings they had, because I mean, I think they had a political party, and they forced them to terminate it. I mean, and the far right political party in Ukraine doesn't even make the cut to get representation in the parliament, in the Rada.
mhm,
But another thing about this uh, Russian uh, the Russian army. I mean,
Hmm.
many people say that the Western armies and American armies have gone soft. Uh, yes, a little. They have their prerequisites to enlist have been lowered to meet the targets for recruitment, but at least they don't have what the Russian army has, which is a problem called death of China. Translation: the law of the grandparents.
Uh,
mm,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. I mean, this hazing, bullying,
Sexual
pranks.
assault.
Yeah, is so. I mean, people have died because of this hazing. I mean, and there was an instance like I'm showing you right now on screen, that and some officers were selling their conscripts as for sex.
oh
Imagine,
no.
imagine that. I mean, you have right now this Captain Christopher Hill of the USS Eisenhower in Yemen. I mean, you see his Twitter feed. He's complimenting his sailors, uh, relaying them messages from home, giving them cookies even, and I mean, to keep the moral high. What can you expect of an army that is constantly, I mean, where the soldiers are mistreated by their officers, and and they run the risk of getting life-threatening injuries, or even being sold into prostitution. I mean, I don't think um, the Russian army so far in Ukraine has worked because of their human wave attacks, like it's 1916 all over again.
Mhm,
No, in my, I mean, yes, I mean, I don't think, I think Russia is willing to go to war with Europe, but just to keep it more unstable, to keep it. I mean, eh, to go to war and enough to get people. I mean, the people that shield for Russia in Europe, all active, saying that, you see, you force their hands, and these outsider political parties that are pro-Russian in some countries, getting doing Putin's bidding in those countries. I mean, it Putin see, Putin don't see war as an end, but as a tool. And I mean, I think it's in the best interest for the West to keep the Russian army in Ukraine right now. I mean, they have
Hmm.
lost 6,000 tanks, which is, if the numbers are to be believed, is half of their arsenal tank wise.
And it's most of their good tanks are already gone. Their T90s are pretty much depleted. Their T80s are getting pretty low. They're getting like older and older tanks. That's why you're seeing like T62s loaded with like explosive reactive armor being like
Yes.
thrust out into the field. And I mean, like slapping a shitload of ERA is not the solution to fixing old ass tanks.
Yes,
Um,
and I mean the also the about the tanks. I mean the I mean we have the to put it in perspective, the T-62. Wha- when that tank was the one the Soviets used when the when we uh, when they invaded the Prague back in the 60s. Imagine that.
it's just it's desperation. You know, that's the thing.
Hmm.
And they can't produce enough. And I mean, that's why I think that this whole proxy war with the U.S. and Russia is pretty good because I mean it's we don't have to are we spending lots of money? Sure,
No,
but are we losing lives? No. Like we're getting a discount for this. This is a bargain deal.
I mean,
And the Russians are. Mhm,
I was seeing watching the numbers about the Russia the war with Ukraine. I mean,
mhm.
it's almost nothing what the West is spending on keeping Ukraine in the battlefield, and I mean they are spending almost nothing, and it's they are spending like half the amount of money Russia is spending right now, and is shared by the United States, Germany, France, and some other countries. So
And
I mean,
Canada, we're
yeah,
paying.
and so you know where that money is going? There, it's going to defense companies in the States to or in Europe to produce these weapons. I mean, it's not like yeah, there there's still corruption in the Ukrainian elite.
Oh,
Yes,
tons, but
yeah, but the money is going where it needs to be right now, and the you know
and it shows.
the recovery funds they haven't. I mean, they haven't been going to Ukraine right now. Well, I mean, because it's going to be a while before the war is over, and
Hmm.
I mean this is a bargain deal to. I mean, this is a bargain deal for to deal with Russia. And I don't
Oh
know,
God,
guys.
yes, absolutely.
I don't know, guys, if you remember last year, the end of last year, or no, the end of 2022, they were saying that without the Russian gas, Europe was gonna freeze,
Hmm.
and apparently Europe had a really warm winter, and Russia had the coldest winter on record.
God mit uns. Uh,
General Winter betrayed the Russians now, but
which I mean is not a bad thing. Oh, sorry. Go on, man.
this year, apparently the Russians were having problems with their uh, water ducts uh, f- that keep the houses and the buildings warm.
Hmm.
I mean, it was so cold. It's so cold right now in Russia. These ducts were exploding. So I mean, people is freezing right now in Russia, even if they have the gas.
Wow.
And I mean, your Ernest, you were telling us grandpa was in the Royal Navy.
He was, yep.
Well, we haven't talked about we haven't talked a lot about the Russian Navy. Yeah, here
Yeah.
here it is, the crown jewel of the Russian Navy, the uh, 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 the Kuznetsov Admiral
Yeah, Admiral
Kuznetsov.
Kuznetsov, yeah. Oh, the blackest thing in the Russian Navy, like because it just belches black smoke. You like if why does this thing still exist?
I mean, it was the moment the Soviets came. It was designed in the Soviet Union. The moment in the moment they understood that maybe we should invest in aircraft carriers. I mean, they were building two of them. I mean, but I don't know if you know. Let me tell you some things about the Kuznetsov. the fuel they use, why it burns like that. Um, if you don't want to burn like that, it has to be preheated on land. Um, so imagine this chimney is a liability. I mean, you don't even need a radar to find it in the battlefield.
No, you can just look out over the horizon and you'll just be like, "Oh, look, the Russians are coming! How cute!"
Yeah, I mean, and also their waterworks, their plumbery is so faulty that last time I checked, only one or two bathrooms work in the whole ship. Like
Oh, that's
sailors had to be on queue to go to the bathroom for hours.
yeah, well, that's why you have another like much larger bathroom. It's called the ocean.
Yes, but I mean, imagine that. And
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean, hey, it's a pretty shitty ship. No pun intended.
yeah, and also, I mean, it doesn't have these launching catapults.
Oh, they're broke, yeah.
No, no, no,
Or
they're not
no, wait, no,
broke.
no, no. Oh, oh,
It
wait,
doesn't
wait.
have
They
them.
don't. Wait. The Gazelle doesn't have launch catapults.
No,
Damn.
no, no. They the the planes have to use the afterburners to launch. So they waste a lot of fuel in that, and it's it's that means less flight time, less autonomy on air because they have to refuel. Uh,
Well, Russian military doctrine is generally much more land-based anyway,
yes,
and even then,
Hmm.
in terms of their naval doctrine, it's mostly focused on this kind of what's it called? Like the French would call it jouet Nicole, um, kind of things where they'll use like small, fast vessels with a lot of missiles, because I
yes,
mean, it's hard to counteract. It's easy to counteract five frigates, but it's a bit harder to counteract 15 torpedo boats.
yes. In this case, um, this is a I mean, and this is a problem that Russia has been dragging since the Russo-Japanese War. That was the moment Russia lost any kind of power projection at sea. They lost the Pacific Fleet, they lost the Baltic Fleet, and after that, what was the Russian Navy worth? Nothing. Um, I mean, and with the treaty of the NATO treaty and a treaty they also signed, the Americans and the Russians signed with Turkey. They cannot they can their heaviest ships cannot traverse the Bosphorus. So I mean, the Kuznetsov is not going
Any
to
steadier,
be
the wand.
yeah, the Kuznetsov is not going to be any time soon in the Black Sea because they can't. Because it can't. The and I think we should talk about the nukes.
Oh, the ones
The
full of water?
those were the Chinese.
Ah.
The Russia, but I have another numbers for you. The military budget for I mean the number of nukes for Russia, and Russia stockpile right now is around 6,000 6,000 nukes warheads. The US is around 5,000 nukes. Uh, but let's see how they are. I mean, the Russian military budget for this year is only 140 billion dollars. The American is 842 billion dollars. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they are spending less in the military. This is the military wise budget, and the Russians are spending like the eighth of the American what the Americans are spending, uh, and they have a bigger nuclear arsenal. I don't think Russia's nukes can fly. If you ask me, I mean, or if they or the I think the warheads are degrading at a very fast pace. I mean, I don't think the warheads actually work properly. And I mean, we have seen some Russian missiles ending up hitting Russian cities while they were aiming for Ukraine. I don't think Russia would like to risk launching a nuke and see it landing in Voronezh, for example.
Nope, definitely not. I mean, yeah, guys, but let's just admit it. The Russians are not really a problem. They're
Yes,
really not.
in the battlefield, yeah, they are not a problem. But I mean, you know how asymmetric war is working, and
I very
I'm
much do.
yeah, and I think we can be sure of we need to remember what Flavius Vegetius said. Si dispatchem para bellum.
Hmm.
We I think we the West needs to prepare at least to give the coup de grace to to the Russian regime and be ready and to signal China and Iran, North Korea, and all our friends in on the axis of evil that to tell them don't even try it.
True,
Sick.
but also I just want to say really quick before we kind of end the get ready to end the show. Um, I actually think that the biggest threat right now is neither China nor Russia. I actually think it's the Iranians
Yes,
because
Mm,
they're sneaky boys. Now, mind you, we did blow one of them up. I remember when that one happened. What was his name there? That IRGC.
Salami?
Uh, oh,
Suleimani.
well, he got blown into Salami, yeah, but yeah, yeah, that chap. The thing is, we only got rid of him temporarily, and now we've got some other guys who are just as effective, if not more so. Because I mean, look what's going on now. We've got Houthis kind of fighting in proxy. We've got these other groups, and the other thing is like the U.S. isn't really yet ready for like the style of warfare that's going on in the Ukraine, like the drone stuff. Um, and that's very demonstrable lately. And I think like as the this drone tech kind of carries forward and advances, we're going to see a lot more U.S. casualties, um, mostly perpetrated by Iran. Now, Iran is promising, or now the United States is promising some kind of action against Iran or against their militias, I should say. But I mean that's probably a topic for another episode.
yeah.
Mhm.
I think Obama should have never uh, make overtures to Iran.
That
Or
was a
Cuba.
mistake. That was a huge mistake.
Yeah,
Both
I
both
mean,
both were big mistakes, but yeah.
before we go, I would like to give a shout out to my friends in Tiempos Imposibles, the this alternative history podcast in Spanish. They made an episode today about what would have happened if Hillary Clinton had won the presidency back in 2016. And I mean,
Ooh.
Ooh.
they made a couple of points that we were saying today. I mean that maybe the Americans the Americans have this image of the Americans being the superpower in the world have been hindered because of these um, uh, culture war stuff like and all of that. But they are still way ahead of the the other competitors of China and Russia. And I mean, the apparently the Russians. I mean, we mentioned it. The Chinese equipment is not good. I mean, have you seen the? By the way, guys, have you seen the cars? The Chinese cars that are flooding the markets right now.
Oh, those Changshan motors, yeah, they're junk.
Yeah,
And
those
the
ones that you can build one like spare parts.
yeah, I mean, I what if they go to war to with Taiwan? What will we find? I mean, I think the how the rifle the Norinco. I think is
Oh yeah, the M16 ripoff.
no the bullpup one the one that has
Oh, that one,
the
yeah.
magazine in the shoulder. Well, I think that one is not that bad, but still, the Americans and the Europeans might be way ahead of China and Russia. They are, granted they are not the uh, okay. We have a comment here, guys. It says first thing Eduardo said about how they seek to take and hold small amounts of territory where they can. I agree, and that is a threat to even the Baltic states. Er, I thank you AC for commenting, uh, but maybe the Article 5 is not guaranteed, but I think maybe not all. I mean, I don't think right now Slovakia and this other idiot Orban and in Hungary will rise up to the challenge for the for, if Putin attacks the Baltic states. But I think I think Germany and Poland and even Finland and Sweden uh, will be the ones uh, taking up the globe for them because I mean let's yes NATO is protecting well covers the Baltic states but also the European Union. Maybe it's not much, but it's what it is.
True.
The problem with
Hmm.
Russia is the infantry that hold land. Yes, that's true. I mean, they just throw bodies into the breach and hope they no, and hope they don't no one is no one tries to or no one. I mean, they just keep throwing bodies into the breach to keep the land. But so this is why I mean we have seen the Ukrainians hitting the supply lines for Russia way inside Russia. I mean they have been hitting refineries in St. Petersburg area in recent days. I mean and this is how they recover Kherson in the south. They have the thing is the thing is keeping hitting the Russian in the supply lines. The I don't know what do you think, guys?
I think I agree. The thing is, they do need to keep hitting supply lines. I mean, like infantry can hold the land, but you just starve them out. They ain't holding anything. They'll break up and go home.
I hope so.
I
So
think so because I mean, like the Russians. Like I mean, listen, Russians cannot live on blintzes alone.
yeah, but I mean, I don't see a massive uprising against the Putin regime. I mean, at some
It doesn't
point,
need to be an uprising. It just needs to be massive desertion.
yeah, at some point it has to be considered that maybe a decapitation attack is necessary.
No, that would be too much.
Nah,
I can't. We can't launch attacks into Russia. That'll prompt a nuclear response,
yeah,
possibly,
yeah. I mean, maybe not.
and
Yes,
it'll
maybe,
expand the war. We can't risk expanding the war.
maybe. I mean, in I mean,
Let them fight it. Let them fight it out. Let them wear themselves down slowly. We have the money. We have the time. The Russians don't.
The oligarchs stole $1 trillion before the war started. Then they started the war and lit a match to another trillion. They're pissed off and contemplated the rest of their. Yes, that's true.
Yep.
The the Russian oligarchs have been the most affected because of the sanctions, and apparently the Americans are passing a law to funnel all the confiscated assets to Ukraine to help in the rebuild or in the war effort. So maybe that apparently it's enough money to keep them fighting for another 2 years.
Mm.
Oh yes, yes. I mean the I think it was Stalin that said that quantity is a quality in itself, and
It was, yes.
yeah, and I think we can all agree that that's the Russian military doctrine.
Pretty much.
Yes. So, guys, I think we have covered the topic for today. Don't
I think
you agree?
so.
So,
Mhm.
we have. We we are we want to thank you guys. Thank you, AC, for commenting.
Thank you very
And
much.
we'll be coming back. I think we will be having some talks about how we are going to proceed with this podcast this year. And just let me tell you guys that in the coming weeks, the 12th, in 11 days actually, uh, the other podcast I am a collaborator with, Tiempo de Cultura, is going to launch the second season. This time we are talking about great conquerors of history. But there,
Yes.
but with a twist. The great conquerors of history and their conquests. It's close to the.
Ah,
It,
so
it
la Malinche.
Yes, it's close to 14th of February. So I think it's on it it's on it it's good for the it's on topic. I mean,
It is. It is.
okay, so guys, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Easy, for commenting, and have a good night.
Good night, everyone.